Really? Really, Pencil Man? You couldn't wait? My technique is gonna drop soon. I really did. I really did. I'll admit. I really thought about waiting. But I thought you were gonna use your technique on a fresh Sukuna, not a brain-damaged one. You're never gonna let that go, are you? No! What's up, guys? All Pencil, and here we are to discuss whether or not Hajime Kashimo, the lightning beast of 400 years past, is a top 5 character, power-wise, within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Character-wise, is he top 5? Like, in my opinion, I really like Kashimo. I've been clowning on him a lot recently. I'll continue to clown on him. Hey, probably, you know what? I will probably keep clowning on Kashimo even after he finally fights somebody. Sukuna or Gojo or whoever. Once he finally fights, It's probably still clown on him because it's gonna be natural. I just love clowning on characters that I like. Well, I know all the Panda fans out there are like, oh, so you must like Panda. No, I don't. No, I don't. In fact, that's one of the main reasons I do clown on Kashimo, because the fact that he couldn't finish the job. But regardless, as a character, I wouldn't put Kashimo top 5. Like just a bunch of random characters that I put character-wise above Kashimo: Gojo, Sukuna, Kenjaku, Toji, Maki, Itadori, Megami, question mark, exclamation point, asterisk, whatever. But like, yeah, there are a bunch of characters, at least character-wise, I put above Kashimo. But we aren't here to talk about character. We're here to talk about that power. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here. As you can see, I have it on me. I keep it on me at all times. As you can also see, I need to get a rag and clean this bad boy off. But regardless, we're here to talk about whether or not Kashimo Hajime is actually a top 5 character within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen in terms of raw power. And the reason I'm making this video is because Kashimo's like entire narrative role, the whole character is revolving around one thing in particular. And then if you were to take that one thing that character is revolving around and break it down further, that one thing that Kashimo is 100% invested in, it's fighting. Like the whole character is about fighting. Obviously, it's quote-unquote about fighting Sukuna. Here's the thing, I'm a Kashimo Cooper too. So like, I guess realistic, like here's the thing, if we were to look off screen, I were to show you my like gallons upon gallons of copium, most of it's going towards Nobara. Kashimo, like, the canister's smaller, but it's still there. But a lot of the people are saying, well, you know, Kashimo's just staying on the sideline so he can fight the strongest. And, can I talk about it here? I can tackle it here real quick before we get into the raw power discussion. The main reason I don't buy that as much is because, one, he specifically would take Kenjaku's word and said he wanted to fight Sukuna. So, obviously, I thought he would want to fight Sukuna. And two, once again, do you think Kashimo's kind of like a hyena? Or like, I mean, realistically, lions, despite what major popular film franchise may have told you, they'll steal a dub too. So like, do you think he's like a hyena or a lion or a scavenger? Like, do you really think he's a guy who's gonna come in? Like, for the Kashimo fans out there, do you think Kashimo really, well, at least from my understanding of the character, do you think that he'll believe he fought the strongest when he knows actively that both of the strongest candidates that are fighting right now are literally brain dead? Like, legitimately, they're just, like, actually fried in the head. Like, if he gets a dub on them when they don't have access to their domains and are super duper juper fatigued, is that really a dub on the strongest? Like, what do you expect Kashimo to pull up with a sensu bean or something? Like how do you expect him to get an actual proper fair fight with the strongest? I think even Kashimo would admit, if he were to beat whoever wins this fight, whoever determines themselves as the strongest while they're weakened, it's kind of like, I mean, congratulations, Kashimo, you're the strongest by default. But regardless of that, Kashimo is all about fighting the strongest, and thusly, he should be one of the strongest characters within the series. He should be. But is he really? Maybe. But that is what we're here to determine today. So, first things first, let's talk about Kashimo's raw, good, juicy power. That thick old P right there that we got to talk about. And why Kashimo simultaneously is very powerful, but not insanely powerful, if you catch my drift. So, notably, Kashimo has 2 major fights, I suppose, but realistically, it's one major fight and one Slaughterfest. Like, even for the Panda fans out there, do y'all consider Kashimo versus Panda a fight? Kashimo fans, do you consider Kashimo versus Panda a fight? I just see it as a massacre. Like, I don't even see that as a fight, and obviously, shock, horror, Kashimo scales above like a grade 2. Wow, wild. But the main fight is obviously against Kinji Ikari. And notably, the reason I say Kashimo's power is exemplary, but not that exemplary, is, well, the thing is, right? I mean, he does do some decent damage to Ikari, which is regular punch. Actually, no. Kashimo's striking force with just regular hits is actually kind of insane. But the reason my brain is like, he may not be all that power-wise is because I've seen other characters do crazy things with just their physical impacts. But remember, Kashimo with just his regular fisticuffs, he's able to swing and brutalize characters like Ikari. Like, notably, he just in their early interactions punches Ikari a whole bunch, and it's actually doing damage. And notably, this isn't just any Hikari he's punching. It's not like he's punching on base Hikari, a high grade one. No, he's punching on Hikari, who's currently gassed up on infinite cursed energy. This Hikari, for all intents and purposes, should be, I think so. Yeah, like at least going by the ideas of reinforcement and the upper limits of reinforcement, how reinforcement functions, this Hikari should probably be the bulkiest character in the series. Like, even more bulky than characters like Yuta, even more bulky than characters like Kenjaku, even more bulky than characters like Gojo. Because the way cursed energy reinforcement works is that it takes your regular physical body and then you flood as much cursed energy as possible into it to make it extra thick and juicy and hard to damage. But Kashimo, with his regular hits, is still able to actually, draw the good stuff from Hikari with just regular base punches, which is something that, like, most characters wouldn't be able to lay claim to. Like, even a character as powerful as the special grade Yuta Kotsu, if he were to just try to punch Jackpot Hikari, I don't think it would do anything. Like, it would legit just bounce off. And Yuta's very, very powerful. For a character like Yuji, heck, Yuji was being no-sold by base Hikari, post-Demon Guy. Admittedly though, I'll give the Yuji fans this, he probably was not going all out against Hikari and trying to, like, severely harm him. He was just trying to get Hikari to listen. But the fact that base Hikari was already selling, well, not even selling, no-selling headbutts from post-Demon God fully healed Yuji is kind of crazy. Like, Hikari already in base is a pretty bulky character, but then he gets extra insane bulk and Kashimo's still able to, like, and just punch it out of him. Get that little juice dripping from him. So in terms of just physical output, Kashimo is already up there. Top 5? It's hard to say. Now here's why. Number one, Sukuna. Number 2, Gojo. Not in that order. Not in terms of, like, well, actually, I would, can I even make that statement? Like, ironically enough, but then again, you could argue that's purely through blue. Based on the Gojo and Sukuna fight, like, I want to say Maguna's the physical superior, but is he really? Like, I don't know. None of his punches have been the ones to do, like, extreme crazy damage to Gojo. It's always been cleaves. So, like, I'm not sure if I can really put, can I put Maguna up there physically above Gojo? Because Gojo's been able to, like, tear through Maguna. Like, he put holes in his chest with his fists. So, like, maybe. So, Gojo, I won in terms of just physical punching stuff. Like, obviously, while Kashimo's strong, punching through nigh on infinite reinforcement is crazy, I still think Gojo's a little bit up there. We know his punches are a little bit extra. Then, obviously, Maguna, because it's Maguna. Like, shock horror, 20 Fingers Sukuna, strongest striker in the verse. I just imagine Sukuna in a Blue Lock uniform. But then, obviously, next up, we gotta have Yuki. I know, she only has one fight, and it's against Daddy Kenjaku. But, notably, she's, like, the only character in the entire series to take someone's arms off through a punch. Ryu, a character stated to have the highest, meatiest, and juiciest output in the entire Culling games, which includes characters like Kashimo, and characters like Yuta, and characters like Hikari. Even Ryu, with his hits, wasn't able to really tear through Yuta like that with a regular punch. Yuki just straight bent Kashimo's arm, not Kashimo, bent Kenjaku's arms right out of whack, and he had to RCT them back on. He had to literally snap the arms back on. So Yuki, She's definitely up there, likely around number 3. Then 4, I'm gonna have to give it to Ryu. Once again, in terms of just sheer simple output punching wise, Ryu just has the statement, and he's also able to damage Akotsu, who should be in a similar bulk tier to Hikari, just based on how their bulk works. Their bulk is literally just a whole bunch of cursed energy. And notably, their respective damage to Yuta with their punches, well, Ryu's damage to Yuta and Kashimo's damage to Hikari, they seem about comparable, though I will admit you could make the argument that punchy punch-wise, Kashimo is a bit more impressive because Hikari has a higher physical base. So you may even be able to slide Kashimo above Hikari, but I think their relativity and damage to super bulky sorcerers plus Ryu's statement kind of gives Ryu an edge right there. But then I think you kind of do have to give it to Kashimo, not on his fisticuffs in particular, but probably on that bolt. Notably, there are characters who technically do have higher AP than Kashimo that I have yet to mention. Yorozu is one who's able to damage and tag 15 Finger Sukuna with regular hits. And obviously you have the Perfect Spear, which if we take what Yorozu said at face value, should have nigh on infinite attack potency because, you know, no points of contact, which should technically kick Kashimo out of the top 5, but that is like a super ultra mega last resort. The lightning bolts of Kashimo are just his cursed energy flow. And they tear through Jackpot Hikari. Like, notably, he doesn't even get, like, the chance to remotely defend. That is even better than what Ryu's Granite Blast did to Yuta. When Ryu launched a Granite Blast, Yuta was able to kind of palm it. Sure, it tore through his entire hand, but, like, wasn't the worst kind of damage. Like, he could heal that bad boy off. Meanwhile, Hikari, someone who should be even bulkier than Yuta when in Jackpot, gets hit by one bolt and his arm is gone. Like, he straight Yuki'd him. Like straight up. You might as well say that lightning bolt was like a karate chop that took off Hikari's arm. But remember, I think it's even more impressive than what Yuki did against Kenjaku. 1, because Hikari should just flat out be bulkier. And 2, because how clean of an impact it was. Like, Hikari's arm was not like dangling or like, oh no, my arm, and then he had to like heal it back on. No, the arm popped off. A man with infinite cursed energy who's super duper jacked. Like, remember, for an 18-year-old, Hikari's kind of built. So like, that's crazy. That's crazy that Hikari got torn through by one of Kashimo's bolts, meaning that I confidently put Kashimo up in the top 5 as something that's readily available. Are there freak exceptions that could hypothetically kick Kashimo out of the top 5 in power? Yes. Yes. It's mainly the Perfect Spear, right? Because then you have Gojo, Sukuna, Yuki, Ryu, Yorozu. That would be the top 5 if you include Perfect Spear. But if you kick out Perfect Spear, because that's like an ultra mega last resort thing, I'd say tearing through a man with infinite cursed energy and a solid physical base, meaning they have crazy reinforcement with a lightning bolt, is more impressive than, you know, Yorozu landing some punches and like scratching up Sukuna's cheek. Like, ultimately, I gotta give that to Kashimo. But next up, we gotta talk about how speedy no Gonzalez our boy Kashimo is. And here's the thing. How fast do you think Hikari is? That's the question. Because the two are able to go relative. If you take Yuta's statement at face value, and you go with the idea that, okay, well, Hikari is stronger than Yuta, and speed seems to be based somewhat, but that's the only issue is speed is variable within Jujutsu Kaisen. The more cursed energy you have does not automatically make you faster based on how things like reinforcement work and just general variables. Like, Gojo should not be as fast as he is if cursed energy reinforcement just works based on how much speed you have. Now, backwards. If speed works based on how much cursed energy you have to reinforce your physical body, Gojo should not be as fast as he is relative to 20 Finger Maguna. Because 20 Finger Maguna has, according to Yuta, more than twice the cursed energy of himself, and also according to Yuta, he has more cursed energy than Gojo. So Gojo's running around here with half, literally probably like a third of the cursed energy that Sukuna has, and he is still able to keep up relative with him in fisticuffs. So I'm not sure exactly how well we can scale speed here. And it's pretty hard, I'll admit, to get Kashimo above the speedsters of the verse. And the speedsters of the verse very specifically being Gojo, Sukuna, Nabito, Naoya, Toji, and Maki. Mainly because the big issue with scaling Hikari and Kashimo, since the only thing that's really linear about Cursed Energy Reinforcement scaling is the raw durability, the bulk behind it, it's hard to scale them to anything else. Like, realistically, having speed feats on 15 Finger Sukuna is more impressive than anything Hikari and... yeah, I'm trying to think. Anything more than Hikari and Kashimo show. Because that kind of relativity is a whole speedless tier above the Sendai group. Like, Ryu could not see that man Sukuna move when he got moving a little bit seriously in 15 Finger. Meanwhile, Maki's able to keep up. Toji's an equal to Maki. Characters like Team Gojo are able to keep up with Toji. Like, that lack of direct scaling makes it hard to really link Kashimo to them. And that means, on top of that, while Yuta says that Hikari's stronger than him, that doesn't necessarily automatically mean he's faster than Yuta. And on top of that, Yuta isn't even the second fastest sorcerer. That's Naobito through projection sorcery. And that's not looking good, because then you have Naobito, Naoya, who should be relative to Naobito, then Maki and Toji, who should be relative to them, if not above them in terms of speed, thanks to their precog and also just their general reaction speed with their heavenly restricted bodies. And you have Gojo and Sukuna, so that's like 6 right there. And that's not looking all too hot for the crew right there. And by the crew, I mean Kashimo. Like, without that sort of direct speed scaling to the speedsters or any statements that pertain to the speedsters, it's very hard to get them anywhere in terms of raw speed. However, you could make an argument. Now, I'm gonna take a sip before I make this argument, so let me sip. If, and I mean if, you want to downplay, and as a Maki and Toji stand, this is going to hurt me, but if you want to downplay Maki and Toji, then you could argue we do not see how Maki deals with the lightning bolt that Nue dropped. Maki may have dodged it, she may have just face tanked it, because we know Maguna, he had lower output, so maybe Maki just took it no damage instead of dodging it. And if you go with that instead of her dodging the lightning, then, like, her best speed feats and speed feats against people she's fought is, like, Mach 3. And then you have Hikari, even if it's only one time, just barely reacting to one of Kashimo's lightning bolts, which is much, 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 much faster than Mach 3. Know what I'm saying? So, like, and then Kashimo's able to go relative to that Hikari and not get absolutely perception blitzed by him. So, you could make the argument, but ultimately, I do think Kashimo, he does kind of, like, get kicked out of the top 5. Mainly because of a lack of correlation. The thing with the power section is that we can just make genuine assumptions based on how we know Cursed Energy Reinforcement works, if we take the Yuta statement at face value, and also just seeing how powerful the lightning bolts are. Like, we've seen all that, but in terms of speed, it's really hard. It's super duper hard to link them to anything. Even if you want to say faster than Yuta, that does not automatically mean faster than Naobito. Without that, not making it in the top 5 when you got Gojo and Sukuna at the top, you got the projection sorcerers, you got the cursed heavenly restriction users, you got all those other people who are super duper speed based and ultimately have more concrete speed scaling to very, very fast characters like 15 Finger Maguna in comparison to Toji and in comparison to Kashimo and Hikari, who realistically only have speed scaling to each other. And that's good. One's stronger than Yuta, and then, well, by proxy, the other one's now stronger than Yuta. But does that mean they're faster? I'm not exactly sure. And thusly, it's pretty hard to claim that Kashimo's top 5 speed-wise in the entire verse. I'd say Gojo, Sukuna, that's 2. Naobito and Naoya, that's 3. You could include Cursed Naoya as a separate character, but I'm just going to be generous and count them as 1. Then you have Maki and Toji, who should realistically be above Naoya and Naobito on this list. They should be faster. That's 6. Then you have Yorozu, who's able to tag 15 Finger. That's 7. Then you have Yuji, who's able to tag 15 Finger. That should be 8. And then maybe you have. I think that's when you get into Akari and Kashimo. If you want to say the stronger statement from Yuta means every single stat. That's like a physical stat. Now, obviously not curse technique wise that Hikari's stronger, but in terms of like all physical stats, he's stronger, he's faster, he's better. So maybe even if that is taken into account, being above Yuta in speed doesn't mean anything when he's not known to be the second fastest sorcerer. Those are the big issues right there that really kicks Kashimo in the top 5 speed wise. However, that's just Kashimo's regular combat speed. You can make a very solid argument that Kashimo has the fastest attack speed or non-domain attack speed in the entire verse. Because, guess what? His lightning is a sure hit. If he manages to tag you enough times, his lightning will always hit you. Will it always hit you on the spot that you were aiming for? Probably not. Like I can't really say that Akari, who saw the lightning bolt coming for and being aimed at his head and suddenly moved it to his arm. Sure, it still hit Akari, but that's once again due to the sure hit effect. Not actually that it will always hit the target. It's so fast it seems like a sure hit. So ultimately, I'm gonna give Kashimo, in terms of just regular fisticuffs, not top 5, but in terms of his highest attack speed, I'm gonna give him. Can I give him top 1? I think the only things that could hypothetically be faster are things like purple or blue or red and or cleave and dismantle. Maybe. I don't know. That lightning bolt's super fast. None of those other ones have shown to be or really provided themselves as sure hits, like the narrator specifically goes out of its way to establish Kashimo's bolt as. You don't do that unless it's something serious. You don't go out of your way to call something a can't miss attack in a verse that has an ability that makes can't miss attacks unless it's one of the fastest attacks in the verse. So the lightning bolt, pretty casually top 5. But Kashimo himself, in terms of the regular fisticuffs, you may be able to put him top 8, top 9, maybe. At least that's what I think, just based on the lack of direct scaling or statements, speed-wise, to anything else within the series. And finally, oh yeah, we're here to talk about Kashimo's abilities and whether or not that they are top 5. And let me tell you something. Coming closer, and we whisper it into your ear. They are not top 5, but that's only as they are right now. So, yeah. I don't think I need to explain to you why Idol Transfiguration blows Kashimo's entire case out of the water. I don't think I need to explain to you why the Six Eyes and Limitless blows Kashimo's case right out of the water. Cleaving this mantle, projection sorcery. Heck, even the 10 booty technique. Someone got it. I saw it in the comments section. Someone was like, "Oh, this is a clickbaity title," and I was like, "I may be slowly being corrupted." But regardless, yeah, Kashimo just currently doesn't have a technique, even with the insane speed and power behind the bolts. The fact that it takes, I believe someone properly counted it. They were like, actually no, it only takes about like 5 or 4 hits. So even with just 4 hits of contact leading into the big bolt of doom, I still say the fact that Yuki can just hit you, arms gone, get the same effect of the bolt just on an instant hit, that's better. All variations of the Limitless, it's just better. Cleave and Dismantle, it's just better. Heck, Projection Sorcery, it's just better. Like, you have these things immediately. That's the reason I give less value to characters who either have to A, equip something to access their full abilities, or B, need to go run and get something to activate their full abilities. Like, yeah, it's neat that you have this super crazy power-up if you do X, Y, and Z, but my ability just allows me to reach Z. Like, I can do the ability immediately. That flexibility is much better than what Kashimo has. Don't get me wrong, Kashimo has a solid kit of abilities, like Hollow Wicker Basket for domains, the Cursed Energy trait, which allows mild electrocution on shock or shock contact, and also the bolts. Like, all that's really, really good, but it's not like... It's nothing revolutionary in a world where souls can be manipulated with a touch. where the laws of space and time will break for a random 28-year-old. Okay, I guess he's not a random. But, like, that's the thing. Kashimo's current ability set, as great as it is on the sheer power front, it's lacking that all-rounder nature that a lot of the other techniques has, and it also is lacking that instantaneous swagger. Like, for something like, let's even be general, let's say Yuta. For something like Yuta only has access to technique for 5 minutes, but once again, he does have access to a non-fully manifested Rika, seemingly enough at all times. So, even just that, having one super strong Shikigami that can restrain someone of Demon God Yuji's caliber is really, really good. Like, it's nigh on... It's a little unfair. It's a teeny tiny bit unfair. It's a little bit unfair. Just a little bit unfair having access to something that is that good at all times. Even though you don't have a regular curse technique. Even something like the 10 Shadows technique. Yeah, sure. Every single one of your summons is super duper liable to get annihilated, but... be like that when it be like that, especially when it be like that sometimes. It's better to have that than just, I have to hit you like 4 times. Your name isn't Sukuna. You get hit by purple, you're done. 1 tap. Your name isn't Sukuna. You get hit by red, you're done. 1 tap. You get hit by resonance, you're not done. But, like, it can be from an entire range away. There's a lot of flexibility that the other curse techniques have already that really makes me wonder about Kashimo's technique. I wonder if there is some sort of fellow there on the internet who may or may not be working on a Kashimo curse technique video. I wonder. I just wonder indeed. Yeah, but obviously... this will all change once he actually gets his curse technique. If the curse technique... but even then, though, I'm not sure. Mainly because the curse technique is a one-time use. That's the big issue. Since it's only a one-time use and seems to be, like, binding vowed, sealed away for safekeeping, I'm not exactly sure if I can really give all due credit to... sounds so bad, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna give all due credit to Kashimo, because, like, imagine if Gojo could only use the Limitless once. Not once a day, not once a month, not once a year, no, once in his entire life. The Limitless wouldn't be that good now, would it? Same thing with Cursed Spirit Manipulation, same thing for the 10 Shadows technique, same thing for Bombaye. Like, the fact that you can only use it once? That's a little bit concerning, especially since we don't know enough about it. We simply do not know the full scope of what Kashimo's abilities are going to be. Then, kind of just stuck out of luck. Like, that's the thing. Right now, I don't think he has it to be top 5 abilities-wise or technique-wise, because we just simply do not know them all. But at the same time, being real with you, I don't think he really needs that to be a top 5 character. And I say that mainly because the potency, I mean, the top 3 all kind of, how do you even say? Do they all kind of annihilate Kashimo? I mean, it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult. At least abilities-wise, I'd say the top 3 abilities are all better than Kashimo's and will likely be better than Kashimo's curse technique, whatever it ends up being revealed to be. But at the same time, a one-shot technique would be nice. A technique that you can only bring out once, meaning it's probably super binding vow amped to a bajillion, would probably be nice. They're like things that come together to haunt me. Would Kashimo even be top, like, especially with his current abilities, would he even be top 10? Can I name 10 techniques better than Kashimo's cursed energy trait? I mean, maybe, because you have the Limitless plus the 6 size, you have Cleave and Dismantle, you have the 10 Shadows, you have Star Rage, you have Copy, you have Sky Manipulation. Heck, even Cursed Energy Discharge probably has a little bit more utility than the Lightning Bolt alone. Then run into errors. I'm immediately running into errors. I'd say Cursed Speech is better right now. Sure, it's pretty easy to counter, but it can still be put to good use. That's 8. Just 2 more. Heck, even I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat and count the weapons. I'm going to say the ability to negate curse techniques. Well, actually, no, it's not counting a weapon. That's just counting Hana. The ability to negate curse techniques plus idle transfiguration and Hana's technique and Mahito's technique, respectively. That's also better than what Kashimo has right now. So, unfortunately, Kashimo, I'm sorry, my friend, but I must dole you this. You are not. I repeat, you are not top 5 in terms of abilities. Shame upon you and your kin. But, even with that being the case, now that we've covered all of his statisticals, the real question arises once again. Is he top 5 overall? And I'd say, at his best, he is. I'd say if Kashimo could get instant access to the bolt, he's easily top 5. Having the only non-domain can't miss attack in the entire series, which is something that not even Gojo or Sukuna can lay claim to, is crazy. Having enough power to damage and tear through a bulky person who has a lot of gains, who's jacked up on infinite cursed energy, is like buku bonkers. Like, that's a fantastic level of power to have there. But that's only with the bolts for the speed and the direct, like, crazy levels of power. And considering those are not an immediate drop, I'd say it's hard. It's hard to justify Kashimo for top 5 when there are going to be other characters who hit harder than him normally. And there are going to be other characters who are faster, at least, once again, due to lack of... Yeah, I'd say, once again, due to just a lack of direct correlative speed scaling between Hikari and our boy, our myth, our legend, Kashimo. That discrepancy, that lack of info on them really ends up hurting them when it comes to speed scaling. But ultimately, I'd have to give Kashimo this seal of approval. If he can get those first couple hits in, especially considering those hits can likely come from him getting hit as well. He doesn't always have to play the charges on you by attacking you directly. You're likely going to get bolted. And if someone as bulky as Hikari got casually torn through, you are likely also done, son. However, that's what I think. Please know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil. Wait, espera. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Wolf 4765. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Alex Ice Rose, Art Goon, DemXLND, Midnight Gemlord, Red Wolf 4765, and Sean. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $10 patrons, I Demokami, Joaquin, and Robbie Uchiha. I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.